a drink. And banks weren't taking me seriously because I was this hairdresser who had been a previous failure in other business endeavors that I'd done. Not always a failure, but, you know, wasn't as successful. And I wanted banks to take me seriously as an entrepreneur and give me a break and give me the money I needed to buy this building, start this magical idea that I had of transforming the corner of North and Agricola Street into a luxurious paradise. And when finally, after 12 attempts to buy the Bank of Nova Scotia and failing every time, I decided the only option I had was to sell my house and then use the money from selling my house to buy the Bank of Nova Scotia. I bought the Bank of Nova Scotia after selling my house, moving to my cottage, and then transforming the corner of North and Agricola Street into a paradise. And then everybody thought, oh my God, you're so successful. Look at you, you're so successful. It's like, God almighty. I've been doing nothing but failing and having doors slammed on my face for the last year trying to make it happen, but thank you very much. Yes, I look successful, there's a difference. I work very, very hard to grow my business and become successful, and I'm very happy right now that I can consider myself to be very successful as an entrepreneur and as a business person. And I do find it ironic that I speak a lot about how to be successful in business when I dropped out of business school at Dalhousie and have struggled for a lot of years to get successful. It's all those years of nobody noticing me failing that I was able to be successful. One of the things that I think kept me from being truly successful was the fact that I have this extraordinary amount of confidence. And confidence, when you have too much of it and aren't able to have the tools and the skills to back it up, just looks like showing off or being cocky. And yes, I felt very, very confident, but it was my confidence that kept me from going out into the world, going out into the community, going out to people who could help me and asking me for help. The next area in my life where I failed, being on TV. People didn't know that I was on TV before I was on X-Weighted because everything that I was on, either they didn't air or nobody just watched because it was so bad. And I happened to have an opportunity to participate in the television show X-Weighted based on an appearance that I had made on another show called Taking It Off, which was a television show that helped people struggling with weight loss, but it was more of an ensemble show, not focusing on people's individual struggles, but as a whole group of Canadians losing weight at the same time. But prior to that, I had been asked by CBC to have a regular show, a regular spot on their national noon hour lifestyle show, and I was going to be Canada's fashion and lifestyle television columnist. And I thought, I'm so perfect for this job because I'm amazing and I'm stylish and I look great and I'm funny. Of course, this is the perfect job for me. I did one show and then they fired me because I sucked so bad. And couldn't figure out why. I thought I was so great, but all I got was one 15-minute segment on the CBC show. They didn't even give me a chance, but they fired me on the spot, 20 minutes after it aired. And then the next opportunity I had to be on TV, Cable 10. You know Cable 10? Where anyone can have a TV show on Cable 10. If you're alive, you can have a TV show on Cable 10. So Cable 10 came to me and said, Fred, you're really funny, you're stylish, why don't you do a TV show for Cable 10? So I decided that I would do a TV show for Cable 10. It was a great, way for me to learn the ins and outs of television. I did 3 TV shows for Cable 10 and then they fired me. Cable 10 fired me because they thought I was a little too difficult. They thought my expectations were too high, that I was a little bit too much of a perfectionist. And please don't ever come back and talk to us about a TV show because we do not want to work with you. And this was back in the 90s. And I put my dreams of being on television on hold. I stopped thinking of myself as someone who would be successful in the world of television, and then just decided to focus on the things that I could control and getting better at the things that I cared about. So I really focused on becoming a better business person. I focused on building my skills as a stylist. I became so passionate about what it is that I do every day that I stopped caring about being on television. I stopped really caring about thinking about business and numbers and accounting and business decisions because I realized there will always be people in my world who can help me with those things that I suck at. I dropped out of business school for a reason, and that is because I cannot count. I am not good at math, Anything having to do with numbers, I suck at. Why would I pursue a degree in accounting when I could hire an accountant to take care of that area of my life for me? So by going out into the world and seeking mentorship that allowed me to become more successful, I could focus on what it was I was capable of and growing my skills, growing my talents, and working really hard to become a truly amazing person. And that's what I did. And so by building a business that was successful, by building a personal brand that was successful, by focusing on all the things that I cared about in my life, having healthy relationships, loving and adoring my family, feeding people really great food, caring about my community. I started a breakfast program in my community, feeding inner city youth before they go to school in our neighborhood. I started working in outreach for women in the sex trade, aligning myself with organizations that support these women and help them access healthcare and education so they can make better decisions for themselves and one day work off the street instead of on the sidewalk. I worked with organizations that support programs for inner city youth, mentoring violent youth away from street violence through the arts by providing them with the resources and the outreach that they need so that they can communicate through art instead of violence, and by working with organizations that provide housing for homeless women and children, organizations that create opportunities in an area that everyone was afraid of. The North End became a much better place to go. I became more confident in my abilities as a business person. I started caring even more about the things that I was passionate about, because now all of a sudden, I'm not just making people who are paying for my services beautiful, I'm making people who never thought that they could be beautiful feel beautiful. Then I got an opportunity to be on TV. Then Dalhousie University School of Business starts coming to my door and asking me if I would mentor students in the business program on how to be more successful. I now run a program through Dalhousie University where I help graduating students project a better, stronger professional brand so that when they're going out into the workforce, they are employable. So now, all of the things that I sucked at, being on TV, being successful, people are now coming to me wanting to get a little bit of my expertise. And why is that? Because I decided that through every area of my life where I failed, I would strive to be successful, and hopefully I would learn something, and the more I failed and the more I learned, the better I would be able to become at whatever it is that I failed at. So failing became something that I got really excited about. When I couldn't do something well, it just made me want to go back to the table and do it again. When we've been working in the community, working with organizations that are struggling in the community and face struggle after struggle after struggle, working with those organizations to learn from their struggles and help them become more successful is something that excites me every single day. So all of us in this room has failed at something. We all suck at least one thing. And typically what we do is avoid thinking about what it is we suck at, and what it is we fail at, and what it is we're not good at. But it's about focusing on where we struggle the most in our lives. It's about really focusing on what it is we want to be successful at, how it is we want to be potent, where we want to be able to make an impact. And even if we failed over and over and over and over again, keep going back to the table and figuring out, how can I do or attempt what I just did, but do it better. Do it in a way that someone will notice me. Do it in a way where I will be capable of learning something. Do it in a way where I will have an impact instead of just failing, hiding, hoping to God nobody sees me until I stop crying, and then come back out and pretend it never happened. Because there's no opportunity to learn there. And when we run away from our mistakes and instead of trying to figure out how to fix them, we don't learn anything. And I think that's what leads to resiliency. So far more than self-esteem, we talk a lot about self-esteem, and I think it's funny that I became a self-esteem expert on television when a lot of people who have experienced me will often say that I'm actually quite damaging for their self-esteem. Because if you're wearing the wrong bra, I'm gonna tell you. If you've got bad skin and I can help you with that, I'm not gonna ignore the fact that you've got a face full of pimples. I'm gonna get you the help you need. If you don't look as good as you could, and you're in the lineup at Sobeys, and you don't even know who the hell I am, but I've got unsolicited advice for you that could possibly change your life. I'm gonna give it to you. I can't help it. If you're at the airport and your kids are yelling and screaming and you're about to have a mental breakdown, I'm gonna tell you how it is I deal with my imaginary children. Because my children are just imaginary, yet I've also become a parenting expert, helping young parents develop strategies to be more successful as parents, and my children